Mr. DiDonato.
Here.
Ms. Long.
Here.
Mr. Markulek.
Here.
Ms. Murray. Ms. Pilara.
Here.
Mr. Sawicki.
Here.
Ms. Tracy.
Here.
Ms. Wolf.
Here.
We have a quorum.
New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law enacted to ensure the right of the public to advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Hopewell Valley Regional Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having a date, time, and place thereof communicated to the Hopewell Valley News, the Times, and the Trentonian on January 9th, 2018. This meeting notice was also sent to Comcast Cable and Verizon Fiber. The board reserves the right to enter into executive session during all meetings of the Board of Education. The meeting is being videotaped for the purpose of board review, future reference, preparation of the minutes, and viewing on Comcast Channel 19, Verizon Fios Channel 32, and the school district website, www.hbrc.org. Will you all rise to the flag salute, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to make a resolution to approve the minutes of June 11th, 2018, June 18th of 2018, both regular and special meetings.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, motion carries. I have nothing to report this evening, so I'm going to just pass this over to Dr. Smith, please.
Great, thank you very much. Just the board Finance and Facilities Committee heard an update today of the construction project at the high school. We will be working throughout the summer on that to hopefully ensure that the vast majority of that project is completed. For school to start in September, we will be communicating to the public as we get closer about that if there's any changes to the dates and or timelines. Also, just making folks aware as we get towards August, we'll be informing the community of some changes to our entrance protocols at our school, kind of tightening that, and we'll also be going through changing and reviewing our lockdown and evacuation procedures and things like that, where the whole administrative team is getting training in early August. So that'll take place over the summer in terms of a lot of our improvements in safety and communication. You'll hear more about that as we get closer to it, but there will be a communication going out to the community prior to us returning to school. In addition to that, I'd just like to recognize a couple of folks around the table. If you read the Hopewell Valley News, Dr. Therese and her work towards social emotional learning and is planning a pre-back-to-school night at CHS program for parents who want to come and learn about how to better support their children and learn some of the warnings and signs for students with suicide ideation and some other issues. And again, that is something that the district is fully in support of. Also, I'd like to recognize our environmental efforts. I'd like to recognize, putting on her other hat, Lisa Wolf is Executive Director of FOVOS, but is it public? Can I mention Tom Quinn?
Oh, yeah.
Tom Quinn has been, that's enough. Tom Quinn has been cited as an honoree for FOVOS's gala for all of his work, not only overseeing the referendum, but really supporting our outdoor classroom initiatives and doing a lot of work for us as a district in changing our recycling procedures. He instituted no chemical cleaning methodologies throughout the district. So he's done a lot of great work relative to sports, and it is well-deserved honor for him. So we're happy to have Tom Quinn, and we thank you. But thank you for your support of the district and all of our efforts. You'll be seeing a lot more of our greening of our buildings and our communities in the coming months and years. And finally, last Wednesday, my daughter and I participated in the Stony Brook Bat Count, where the Stony Brook has a bat house, those of you who don't know, and we had somebody from the New Jersey Wildlife Services came out with a bat counter and worked with us and took her through. If you may or may not know, Stony Brook is a bat haven, but it really, we learned a lot about the good things that bats do and the thousands and hundreds of thousands of insects they eat every night. So we counted 17 bats in our section of the area, and I think we did not take any home with us, but it was, they're not that scary though, so it was really, it was good to see. Not that, no, it was, that's,
How do you count them? Don't they fly around?
Count their eyes.
you count, no, you count you can see when they leave, you count them as you leave.
Yeah, I'm like thinking.
Yeah.
they're all
Scooby-Doo,
in
you
and
think?
out all the time.
Yeah,
We
it
have a
was
bad house at our house. You can see. Have so much
Yeah,
fun
yeah,
when
it's-
they
it's-
fly around.
Very good.
They're very cool.
So with that, I can turn it back to you and just inform everybody that more information to come on a number of important topics.
Okay. Members of the public are invited to address the board on any matter for a maximum of 3 minutes during this portion of the meeting. You are asked to state your name, address, and municipality. In response to your comments, the Board of Education may respond or direct the superintendent to do so. The board may also opt to take the matter up at a future meeting, so the matter is researched by district administration. Public comment is now open.
Pete Myers, 285 Westcott Boulevard, Bennington.
Wait, can you say your last name again?
Myers?
Myers, thanks.
Pete?
Pete Myers. So I was here in February, and I talked briefly about the STEM program and the kids that are coming over to our district that the families don't pay taxes here. And this was back in February. And my theory was proved out this spring when I saw the sports team selected. And a lot of these kids coming over here taking spots from kids from Hopewell, and it's not right. Yes, somebody mentioned it costs, we get $13,000 only to pay for these kids to come over to our town and be educated. And I know from what I've read, it's a lot more than $13,000 to educate someone in Hopewell Valley School Districts. So again, I moved to this neighborhood only for the schools. I could have lived a lot cheaper where I was living elsewhere. And our town's the only town that has this program, as far as I know, in Mercer County. So I haven't been too impressed with the schools in a lot of areas. And I live a lot closer to Princeton and Montgomery. I'm 5 miles from Princeton High School. I'm about 7 or 8 miles all the way over here, and my kid's got to wake up at the crack of dawn to get the bus. So I would rather send my kid over to Princeton or Montgomery. Schools are apparently a little better according to standardized tests, but the point is, if you're going to allow this, and you're going to let these kids do the sports, then take extra kids to offset that. So if the team takes 20 and one of the kids is from the STEM, take 21 and put it out ahead of time. So everybody knows that we're not getting screwed out of spots for our kids from out of town. Okay, if they want to come here for school because their school districts are lousy and they don't feel that they're up to snuff, fine. Come to school. You want to play sports? Play in your town with everybody else who you've grown up playing with. Don't come over to my town and take spots away from my kids. Okay? It didn't affect me this spring, but it affected other people, and I heard a lot of grief about it. Some of these sports teams have more than one kid on this STEM program coming in. So, you know, some of these teams, basketball teams, take 10 kids, 12 kids. Well, 2 of them from STEM programs, you know, that's 20% of your program getting taken away from kids from out of town. So if you're going to continue to do this, I would ask that you notify your athletic director and coaches to make an exception to increase the roster size of these teams to offset those kids coming in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Anyone else like to speak? Thank you. Public comment is now closed. Dr. Smith, would you like to comment on Mr. Myers' concerns? If you can talk a little bit about how many kids we're really talking about that come into our district, I think that'd be helpful.
Sure. So as last count last year, we had 17 students who came into the district. As part of them came in as STEM, but the vast majority came in the performing arts program at the high school. I don't know, this is the first I'm hearing about it in athletics. I assumed because any students coming in through the choice program would be in the middle school now. So I have to look at the students who are participating. But philosophically, you know, as they enter into our district, there are students. So I understand that they may live outside of the district. We also have a number of employees who have students in our district. Once they enter our doors, there are students. So that's the way we see them. We do receive monies from the state of New Jersey to offset their tuition or their costs to the taxpayer. What it did do, I will say, it enabled us to run and build a STEM program at the Bear Tavern School by bringing those students in. Those extra monies, when the board first approved that, allowed us to really outfit that STEM program and provide I think, a unique experience to all of our students. But that's something I could look into. Again, was not made aware. This is the first I'm hearing of anybody on the sports team not making or losing a spot to one of the students in a choice program, but we'll look into that.
Dr. Smith, can you also comment on, he made a comment about the fact that we receive about $13,000 per student, while our per student cost does tend to be higher than $13,000. I believe that the incremental cost for adding STEM students probably isn't the same as our per student cost. Can you comment on that?
Sure. We at the time that we applied for the choice program, our enrollment was decreasing. So really, in terms of the per pupil cost, you're correct, where Bear Tavern, for example, we had 17 kids in an elementary class, bumping it to 18 was really, you're not adding a teacher or adding another section for that. So it was really, to a large extent, kind of like found money for us. And as I said, we used that money to help offset the growth of that STEM program and the development of that STEM program.
And would we be able to say that it's still the same type of situation? We're not currently having to add staff to address.
Oh, correct, not for the choice students, correct.
Thank you, Dr. Smith. Okay. Does, do I move it first? I'd like a motion, please, to move the consent agenda.
Motion.
Thank you. Is there anything that anyone wants removed from the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd like to just G1 and G2.
Didn't you have something you wanted to move on?
Okay. Anything else? So we can approve the rest of it. All those in favor? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Okay, motion carries. Okay. Is that next? Mr. DiDonato, you're on deck.
All right. So today, I mean, I won't, already mentioned about what we met in terms of Finance and Facilities Committee. Primarily, we talked about some of the items in referendum. Obviously, we were a little bit behind coming into the summer. We're catching up. Our anticipation is to be on time, on budget, at the August 24th checkpoint. I've got a couple items that I need to move. One of those is so I need a motion to move, so I should just read the bid. I've got two bid awards.
You can move everything at once so
Okay.
we could talk about them.
All right, So I would like a motion to move bid award for the media renovation and the bid award for the emergency generator installation.
Move the bills list too.
All right, and I want to move the bills list as well.
Thank you.
Just need a
Second?
second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yeah, I mean, the bid award, we have actually a couple bid awards, but the one was planned for the summer renovations, but this was for the media centers. We did end up with not going with the lowest bid. We went with the second lowest bid, and this was due to some complications in the way the contracts are structured. So that's regarding the media renovations. The second portion was the addition, I should say the new generator installation at our elementary schools, Timber Lane and Central High School. So this was awarded to QPI Electrical Company, and basically this just covers all the backup units to keep us, to keep the internet, phones on, et cetera, all our emergency systems up and running in case we have power outages.
May I ask a question about the media center renovation?
Sure.
Where is the plan still to turn the media center into maker spaces?
The old computer lab that is adjacent to the media center will be the makerspace.
So this renovation is just for the media center? it's
No,
not-
no, for the whole kit and caboodle. Yeah.
So there's going to be work done at each of the 4 elementary schools. Next summer will be the middle and the high school. But this is the bid we're awarding is for the construction work at the schools. Each elementary school is going to have a different amount of construction, with Tollgate being the most, Hopewell, Bear Tavern, and Stony Brook down the road. Stony Brook doesn't really need any structural things done, but some of them are going to be reconfigured. We've ordered furniture, we've ordered some new shelving, just to make them more up to date. And then, as Tom said, the maker spaces will be added in the old computer labs.
And that construction will happen during the school
It's going to be, hopefully it's going to start as soon as we award the bids and get through the, the red tape with awarding bids and things like that. So this summer.
this summer, so, and
It's probably going to extend a little bit into the school year. We hope to have the media centers ready by October.
And the media specialists have been involved in conversations since the get-go, so they're aware of the timeline.
It was either they were more willing to move ahead now with a little bit delay than waiting till next summer. Okay. So those are the bid items, and then I know.
Okay. Sure. And I've had some communication with Bob and all through the day, so thank you very much for helping with that. So on those 2 items, basically each of them has one payment that's listed, which is listed as judgment against district in the accounting system. And forgive, with my memory, you can never tell, but I didn't recall, based upon when we've had our closed sessions and the board's made aware of when we have a settlement agreement for typically a special education placement. I didn't recall anyone that would, in my mind, have reflected a judgment against the district in a legal standpoint. So I guess Mr. Colavita explained it to me before this meeting, but I thought it would be useful just for the board and the community to be able to understand what's specifically meant by a judgment against district in this accounting system.
So, I mean, it's not only in our accounting system, it's in statewide accounting systems. It's just a term in the chart of the uniform chart of accounts. All the accounts that are used by all school districts statewide are the same. We use the same account codes. And when you are in a situation where you have a legal document that stipulates payment to a person, individual, anything, that's the account it goes in. It's considered an administrative expense, and the category is judgment against the district. Now, when you and I talked, you felt that they were more of a settlement that we reached, but it's an official legal document that we are obliged to follow the terms of the contract. So that's why it goes there. While we weren't taken to court and had a decision rendered against us, it's just a document that stipulates how we are to proceed with an individual.
Good.
So
And that's
why it is there.
And that was my concern. It was just, I was saying to myself, was there something I didn't recall? from that standpoint, or, to me, unless you have knowledge of that, you may have a different understanding of what that might mean.
Yep.
So I think that was important.
And to your point, certain of those legal documents that are, and the conditions that are stipulated in them don't warrant it being in that particular category. It's the terms within the document that stipulate whether it goes there or somewhere else.
No, thank you very much.
So if we actually did have a judgment against us, that would appear the same way on our bills as if we just settled and we didn't have a judgment against us.
Correct.
Okay.
And is that just mostly because if we were to not pay, then we could basically be taking the court to ensure that we follow the stipulations of
Yeah,
the
I mean,
contract?
it's-
Is that kind of why?
It's just considered the way the state runs its accounting practices. It's considered a legal decision where the district has to pay out monies towards that. So you could have to pay a construction settlement out of that. You could have to pay, any number of other legal cases that we get involved in without getting too much into detail.
No, thanks.
So all those in favor of the finance and facilities motion? All those in
Aye.
favor?
Aye.
Sorry. Opposed, abstained? Motion carries. Thank you. Ms. Pilara, you're up. Thank you.
So tonight, we discussed a tremendous amount of moves and hires and resignations and just getting ready for the school year. And it looks like we're in great shape with only a few remaining openings. And we discussed the changes to both the Janus ruling as it relates to union membership as well as changes to the HIPAA law.
If I could just make one comment, there are two names on here that I think are worthy of acknowledgement. First, Sarah Grea, who's been our language arts and social studies supervisor for a number of years. I've known her both in that role as well as a teacher for my children, and she's been excellent in both roles, and I wish her the best. And the same with Lois Fife. She's been fabulous for my kids, so we're going to miss them.
Thank you.
And while we're doing shout-outs, we have someone in our audience today. Ms. Laura Zer is a teacher of art at Central High School. We're welcoming her from the Hamilton School District, and I'm sure she's going to kill it for us.
Welcome.
Surprise.
So thank you for coming out. There's a really good chance we're going to approve this.
Yeah, she's not a teacher yet. Too soon?
A little bit.
Okay. All those in favor?
Oh, roll call.
Oh, roll call. Oh, sorry, yes. You put in parentheses for me like you used to. May I have a roll call vote, please?
Yes.
Ms. Long?
Yes.
Mr. Markulek?
Yes.
Ms. Pilara?
Yes.
Mr. Sawicki?
Yes.
Ms. Tracy?
Yes.
Ms. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Murray?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Congratulations.
You're welcome to stay for the entire meeting. It's just a lot of interesting.
We can't take it back once you leave.
Thank you very much. I'm
Thanks.
really excited to come to
This
this.
is great.
Bye.
Thank you. Ms. Jenny, you're up.
So I move the non-consent. Need a second.
Second.
And then I guess we're gonna need a roll call vote on, we're adopting the curriculum, the existing curriculum to carry over to next year, and then the new course approval for the behavioral program at the high school.
Anybody, any discussion?
Would you want to share that? There's board members not on that com.
Yeah.
You might
I
want-
think we've talked about this before. This wasn't,
The behavior program, yeah?
but I'm gonna read it to you. because
Okay.
This, if I can see it. This class will say, will be 12 students at the high school level, with a special ed teacher, The curriculum content standards will be utilized as well as identified goals and objectives that are unique to each student. School counseling and social skills will be provided by the special education teacher along with the school psychologist at the high school. So it's supporting the emotional learning in kids who have behavioral issues, sort of like what we have at Timberland already.
And I'd like to compliment your administration. What's nice about this program is right now we have to send students out for it, and this allows us to bring students back into the district, which better serves the students, and it's better for our taxpayers as well. So it's a win-win all the way around.
Roll call vote, please.
Yes.
Mr. Markulek.
Yes.
Ms. Polaro. Mr. Swicky.
Yes.
Ms. Tracy.
Yes.
Ms. Wolf.
Yes.
Mr. DiGenato.
Yes.
Ms. Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Ms. Wolf, congratulations.
We don't really have much on the community relations front. We're trying to keep the community abreast of what we have going on. How's that?
Sounds good.
And I will add that our finance and facilities meeting today said that as we get a little bit closer to the start of school, we do intend to keep the community fully aware of where we are with the referendum and what's opening and what's not, and where we are with that. And I think people will be excited. The one question I did ask in finance today is how are we doing on the AC? And we're doing great on the AC. So I think while the students might be put out by some other stuff that might be delayed, it will be more than made up for. It's to have AC in September when they get back there.
And have to have extra sweatshirts at the school store. It's going to work so well. Okay. Nicely done. Okay. Routine information items. Policy.
Okay, so we had a meeting last Monday. There's a bunch of stuff up, so we'll start going through it. We have 6 items on first reading. Let's see, we have policy and regulation 2200 on curriculum content, policy 2431 on athletic competition, regulation 2431.2 on medical exam prior to participating in team sports and interscholastics, regulation 2414 programs and services for students in high poverty and high need school districts. And we were abolishing policy 2425, physical education, just because the content is covered in other policies. So these are there for first reading. Policy committee has reviewed them and is recommending them. These aren't extremely significant changes. They tend to be wordsmithing and updating relative to state law. So
I have a question. On the policy, wait, you moved them all, right?
Yeah, second.
Second. Okay.
Here we
So on policy 2414, programs and services for students in high poverty and high need school districts.
okay.
So we're not a high poverty or a high need school district, so I'm not necessarily certain.
The specifics of why it applied, why we have one, is a good question. And Tom, maybe you can elaborate on it. I think it's just because per state requirements, all districts are required to have something to address like this as part of our set of policies and regulations. You know, there are specific criteria under which if we fell, we would have to address these. It deals with things like class sizes, things like that. So from that standpoint, while it's unlikely we would ever fall under it within the near foreseeable future, we did go through it and review it and make sure we understood what it meant. And we did make a bunch of changes because the state didn't update things from NJS to Park. Of course, that might change now.
Yes,
Well, I was going to say, that was
But,
going to be
you
my
know,
next question.
We'll be reviewing the policy again in September.
Because, like, I kind of don't even get why we're doing this
Yeah.
policy. If we're, I mean, if the park stuff even applies, and if the policy even applies to us, since we're not a high poverty or a high need school district. So I'm kind of confused as to why this would be a priority to even.
Correct. If you look at, though, there's one, where is it, where are the percentages of,
was it the park literacy?
Yeah, the
language
park
arts?
literacy, yep, language arts. Less than 85% of students have achieved park proficiency. Have achieved proficiency.
Okay. Yeah, 80%.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
So just, I mean, it's a precursor, as you said, it was if a need be.
Mm-hmm.
We knocked it out. The policy committee, I have to say, has just been, they're working so hard, they're doing policies we might not even need.
Great.
Sorry.
No, but it's, I mean,
No.
it's
But if
it's
anything,
on their
it's-
docket and
If
told to-
anything, I felt it was good for us to be aware of things
Yep.
like what are the mandated class sizes if you do fall under, having this come into effect. So from that standpoint, it's at
Yeah.
least being worth aware of.
I hear what you're saying. I'll tell you what my concern is. If we do have students that need interventions, we need to give them interventions. Not, okay, well, this one falls into high poverty and high need. We are a very fortunate school district in that we do not have a very large Title I population. But unfortunately, we do have a population of students who do need
Mhm.
some help. And I just want us to, we've talked about this before, of trying to keep our eye on the ball of kids in the middle and trying to keep our eye on the ball of kids who need extra help. And I just don't want us to be overly focused on being able to classify them and put them in boxes before they can get help. Once we know a student needs to get an intervention, they should be getting their interventions. And I guess that was my only
Agreed.
point. So this is fine. I mean, it doesn't hurt us to have the policy, but I kind of look at it and go,
We do more than that, anyway.
right,
Yeah.
and I'd like to make sure that we're focused on
Yeah.
getting everybody what they need.
Do we want to roll call?
No, just a voice vote.
Just voice vote? First reading and then we decide.
Yep.
Okay. All those in favor for the first readings?
Hi.
Opposed, abstained? Motion carries.
Okay, so can I get a motion to move the policy from regulations up for second reading?
Second.
Okay. So this is a much shorter list. We have, let's see, Regulation 8462 and Policy 8462, reporting potentially missing or abused children, and a new Regulation 5460.01, high school transcripts. So, and these were reviewed on first reading at the last board meeting, and we have had no changes to those since then. So we are recommending approval and adoption.
Roll call?
Mr. Markulek.
Yes.
Ms. Pilara.
Yes.
Mr. Sawicki.
Yes.
Mrs. Tracy.
Yes.
Ms. Wolf.
Yes.
Mr. DiDonato.
Yes.
Ms. Long.
Yes.
Ms. Murray.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Calendars.
You up?
Tony's got it behind you.
Well done.
So you need a motion.
I need a motion to approve the calendars.
So,
Second.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'm not
Oh, they're both July.
Can you just on the two more right
You all want to do policy on the 13th?
We have Alice that day.
We have Alice that day.
Oh, okay.
Yes. We have training,
My name is
security training.
Elise.
Yeah. We have security training that day. Any chance we could do that the Thursday prior,
Sure.
Right?
Is the 9th
the
work?
9th?
Yeah, that works for me since I won't be here.
When will you be here?
Okay.
That cannon.
So it works. Yeah, the 9th works. Well, yeah, I won't be
Okay.
back until, cool.
And do it like 8:30?
8:30
Probably
on
not
the
though.
9th?
No, I'll be like 8 hours time difference away. Yeah, but it's very, very, very.
That's nothing.
Limited
Be
cell
very
service.
far with
No
cell
cell
Nothing.
service.
It's doesn't
I
work
get-
on those
It'll be important
Amex,
for you to
whatever
check
call it.
in
Wait a
with
minute.
oldies anyways.
Are we talking about Pete, Mr. Technology, can't figure out how to use Skype?
I was told I wasn't
Seriously?
allowed to bring it to the last leg of the trip.
Like, seriously?
just
If
put it-
anyone else here said it, I would be like, okay.
Okay, I have my own satellite.
Leave me alone.
I knew it.
And community relations, I reserve the right to call it later. Lee is out of the country. The only other person on our committee is Jenny, and we'll, figure that out sometime. But right now, it's probably not best because we're missing a third of the committee.
Nope. So, all those,
Everybody's good with the 27th and 30th, the committee?
okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained? Motion carries.
And a quick calendar preview, September 15th is when we will be honoring Tom Quinn. It's not on the calendar yet because
Get
we're
your
always in
tickets now.
July and August.
Get your tickets now.
But wait,
To the
there's more.
pub again.
Members of the public are invited to address the board on any matter for a maximum of 3 minutes during this portion of the meeting. You are asked to state your name, address, and municipality. In response to your comments, the Board of Education may respond or direct the superintendent to do so. The board may also opt to take the matter up at a future meeting so that the matter is researched by the district administration. Public comment is now open. Anyone? Okay, seeing none, public comment is now closed. Okay, I'd like a motion to enter into executive session. To discuss harassment, intimidation, bullying matters, special education litigation, and personnel administrative matters. May I have a motion, please?
Will
Thank
action be
you.
taken?
No action will be taken.
Well, no action will be taken. Action will be taken.
Will?
Yeah.
We would come out of?
Yeah, you'll have.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll come out, okay. So we have a motion
And a second.
and a second.
All those in favor?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain? Motion carries.